Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of Challenge 145, where today we're really excited to have Dai Cole down with us. Dai is going to go through some pre-race preparation techniques on the run-up to the Cardiff Half Marathon. Dai is the founder of DC Triathlon Coaching, an all-round accomplished triathlete who's just competed in Ironman Wales and is going on to compete in Kona in the next few weeks. So let's start by just discussing Ironman Wales. How did it go?
It went really well. Did it in a time of 10 hours and 11 minutes. Support was fantastic. It was brilliant to have so many of my coached athletes as well out doing the race, and it was brilliant preparation for me before heading out to Kona in 2 weeks for the World Ironman Championships.
So you mentioned briefly about your sort of coached athletes. Tell us a little bit more about sort of DC Triathlon and what you guys are doing.
Yeah, so we've started a triathlon company, DC Triathlon, and me and my partner, the coaches, it's gone from strength to strength. We had over 20 athletes competing in Ironman Wales on Sunday, and they all did really well, had good days, they trained really hard. Number of athletes.
Amazing.
Swansea 70.3 recently, Ironman Wales, and I think the enthusiasm from Sundays, people are already talking about next year, and we're having a lot of inquiries again to come on board.
So go through a little bit more about your role as then the sort of coach or the coaches. What are you doing with your athletes? How are you sort of bringing them through?
So it's mainly an online platform where we subscribe them with their training, and depending on their ability, it's very much bespoke to them as individuals. And we give them their training for the week, for the fortnight. They then do the training, follow the plan, ask questions, give us feedback, how the session went, were they underfueled, did they prepare for the session, were they fatigued in the session, was it a good session, and then we correspond that way, kind of building on. And that's how they prepared for Ironman Wales, for example.
Amazing. So really sort of giving them the support and guidance that they need through, which is fantastic. It's great to have Dai with us today. Obviously, from a personal point of view, going on now and looking at my own challenge with the upcoming half marathon, it seems like a great opportunity for us to go in and ask, a couple of questions that I personally, struggle with every time I do something like this, and see if we can tap into Dai's wisdom. And sort of get a couple of answers to a couple of questions that we might all benefit from approaching a run like a half marathon or any run that anybody is approaching. Before we jump into that, tell us a little bit more about Kona and what that means, and
So Kona is like the pinnacle of the triathlon, like what a lot of the triathletes strive towards. It's the Ironman World Championships.
Amazing.
So it's by qualification only. So to get the Ironman World Championships, you've got to come in the top 3 in your age category in order to gain qualification. So I was fortunate enough to qualify last couple of years ago now. Unfortunately, it hasn't been due to the pandemic, but so I've qualified. So it's been built. For me, it's been building towards that. It's been the ultimate goal since I started triathlon, was to reach the World Championships. So it's the very best in the world. We'll be heading out to Kona. I'm heading out for some heat acclimatization about 2 weeks before the race to try and get used to the the temperature, to the heat, and to prepare myself properly for the race, which is on the 8th of October, a week after your challenge.
Mine's a little easier than yours, I think, but amazing.
Take nothing away from it at all.
Obviously, we wish you the best of luck with everything that you've got coming up. Going on to sort of fine-tuning now, and certainly from my point of view, approaching, say, a couple of weeks before the half marathon. So training for me personally has been up and down, but I'm at a place now where I'm confident that I've got the distance in the bag. Time-wise, my times are improving, which is great. But like every time I get to a week or 2 weeks before a half marathon, certain questions start popping up and I don't know the answers to. So it'd be great to see what your opinions are on certain things. So the most obvious one for me is, from a point of view of now, I've got a set amount of mileage that I'm doing every week. when should I start to reduce that mileage, and how much should I be doing the sort of week prior to the half marathon?
I think it depends very much on the person and on the individual of how much you're doing leading up to the actual event. What I would definitely say is that you don't want to be overtraining for the last week before the event. So say now the event is obviously going to be on the Sunday. You want to be resting and tapering for the week leading up to the event, and not going to do any sort of long runs or intense runs. That final week's all about freshening up then. So you're probably looking at doing your longest run, either depending on the individual, on 2 or 3 weeks. So you may have done your longest run now. Maybe others will leave their longest run to a fortnight before. But you certainly don't want to be doing your longest run the week before. Or doing any sort of hard sessions the final week.
Fantastic. I mean, for me, and I'm sure for many runners, there's always that thought that if I don't get the miles in, am I going to lose fitness? Am I going to lose pace?
You definitely won't lose fitness. The hard work should be done now, really, and leading up to now. So, for example, on a similar basis to my Ironman, and just come off Ironman Wales, for the 7 to 10 days before Ironman Wales, or 10 days before Kona, I'll certainly be trying to recover and rest as much as possible. So not stopping training altogether, but maybe for you looking at getting a few shorter runs in. The last week, a few 3-4 mile, 4 milers with maybe a couple of strides, just to pick the intensity up, but nothing difficult that's going to leave you tired or fatigued. So you definitely won't lose fitness.
That's great. And I mean, from my point of view, and certainly thinking about sort of the muscular elements and the things that we're looking at in our clinics, that's logical. It makes a lot of sense to us.
It's difficult because the temptation is always during the last week is, I haven't done enough. I'm not ready, and you're going out maybe on the Wednesday or the Tuesday before the race thinking, I've got to get a long run in here, I haven't done enough training. But that's probably the worst thing you could do at that point, because it's going to take you a couple of days to recover, and you're going in on Sunday then.
But it's a constant mental challenge, with yourself, and I found this even with the training that I've done personally, for the half marathon. I know, because I tell patients every day, don't overtrain, be sensible with your approach, gradual increases, have easy runs, have hard runs, but there's always there's something in there that's like push, and it's about sort of knowing the right thing to do and listening to it, really.
A lot of people get nervous, get twitchy, maybe for that week leading up to an event, and they become so used to training and running and going out doing long distance, they automatically think, I have to go out and run. But that's the week to be disciplined, to trust the process, to trust the training you've done.
Absolutely.
It'll come together on the race day then.
So again, sort of moving towards now the week building up, or even the morning before, what do you advise from a point of view of sort of fueling and food intake and that sort of stuff?
I think that's a good question, really good question, because it's really, really important to get the fueling right for the day, because if you get the fueling wrong, then you're not going to have a good race. It's really important, whether it's a half marathon or doing something like the Ironman that I do. What I'd say with the half marathon, during the event, maybe the morning, you want to be getting up, you want to be eating breakfast, I would say about 2 or 3 hours before the actual race itself. So if I was racing the half marathon, I'd be getting up about 3 hours before the race and eating something like a bowl of porridge with a banana in the porridge, and maybe a couple of slices of toast with honey, with a coffee for some caffeine as well.
That's good to know.
That gives the 2 or 3 hours gives it plenty of time to digest properly, and porridge is a good source of carbohydrates. You're getting the energy from the banana as well. You're not eating anything too fatty or too stodgy that's going to sit in your stomach for too long. Hydration is important, to be sipping maybe an energy sort of based drink just during the morning, maybe with some electrolytes in it to avoid the cramp as well.
Brilliant.
And then during the event, I would be looking, don't do anything during the event that you haven't done in training. It's probably a big no. So if you haven't had a specific gel or a specific bar, don't try it in the race, just in case.
I remember
something goes wrong with
trying to eat a jelly baby. Somebody handed me once a few years back, almost choking to death halfway through a run. It's not a good idea for me.
But I mean, I would probably take 2 gels on during the race. So you'd be looking at maybe it'll take maybe 20 or 30 minutes to actually, by the time it hits your body, hits your body. So I'd look at taking one maybe at mile 4, mile 8.
Okay.
It'll give you 30 to 35 grams of carbs, and it'll give you that instant hit. And it'll keep you going for the entire race. So I'd maybe, if you've been using certain gels in training, maybe just carry 2 of them with you.
Okay. Great.
That's something that I certainly be doing during events, is stick to what I've already used.
Not change too much.
And not change too much.
Fantastic. And how about sort of the night before? Are there things that you should be avoiding eating, like not overeating, for example, or people always talk about carb loading, that sort of stuff. Is there anything we should be?
Carb loading the night before is, for me, a no-no.
Okay.
Now, because people become obsessed with, I've got to really load the day before. But realistically, you haven't trained so much that week.
No.
And the last thing you want the night before is to be going to bed or like overeating and feeling really heavy and doing something you're not used to doing. So they're saying a gradual build. Your training volumes reduce, so just eat normally for the beginning of the week, and maybe for the couple of days prior you are looking at just eating nothing fatty, getting the carbohydrates in, but not going over the top the day before and thinking, God, I've got a race tomorrow, I really need to get pasta, pizza, bread, and by the time
sounds great.
Eating so much things, you're a bit heavy, so just be sensible. Don't have anything that's don't go out
makes
fast
sense.
foods or
makes sense.
I mean, I avoid high fiber for the weekend of the event, so I turn from brown bread to white bread. I cut out fiber. I go for white pasta, white rice, to avoid any gut problems.
Interesting,
And they say that, and what I do is to go for, so say you weigh 70 kilograms, you're looking at about 700 grams of carbs for the couple of days leading up to the event. So it's 10 grams of carbs per kilogram of body weight. It's like a rule of thumb. Obviously, a good way to do is to like people track it. So you can, it's quite easy now with the apps that you've got on the phones, and you can go download something like MyFitnessPal. And you can easily keep a log roughly of what you're eating for the 2 or 3 days leading up to the event, so you're not going overboard with eating too much fat. So you don't want too much fat to be feeling heavy. You want to get the balance of carbs right, but you don't want to be eating too much fibre either. So for myself leading to an event, for the 2 days leading, I normally diet leading up to the event, and for the 2 days before I just do a kind of a gradual increase in carbs slightly, but not over the top.
Sleep. It's one of those things, it's constantly we're learning more and more about how important sleep is. Should we be aiming for, again, probably not doing anything too much out of the ordinary, but should we be aiming for, is there a golden number of hours we should be looking to achieve?
Definitely, the more rest and sleep you can get, the quicker you will recover and the fresher you will feel. I mean, rule of thumb, people look at 8 hours. If you can get 8 hours, or people who have the luxury to have like a nap in the afternoon the day before the race, would certainly make you feel better. I mean, you want to be getting up early in order to get the breakfast sorted, up at 7 so you can eat properly. So early night would be beneficial, and if you can get those 8 hours in, then I'm sure you'd be like a jack in the box come Sunday morning ready to go.
Hopefully. And then obvious things like anything you should avoid. You mentioned avoid any heavy fatty foods. I'm guessing alcohol's like a no-no.
So save the alcohol until after.
I'd save the rewards for after. So no drinking pre-race. That's a fairly obvious answer, I think, to that one.
What I would say is that you've done the training. Don't panic the week leading up to the event. Get as much rest and recovery as you possibly can, and just keep the miles ticking over.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing by maybe Tuesday, Wednesday of the week leading up to the race, you should start feeling, my legs are feeling good now. And that's a good sign. With the extra sleep, the extra bit of fueling that you're putting into your body, the reduction of the mileage, come Sunday you'll be nice and fresh. You wouldn't have lost any fitness, and you'd probably surprise yourself on race day.
I hope so.
Hit that 145.
Any absolute no-nos or anything that you should really, other than, as you say, trying to stick within relatively normals, no overeating, a little bit extra, yes, but avoid binge eating the day before. Anything else that you think I might have missed out on?
The most important is not to overtrain. Or getting any long runs in. I mean, don't go out and change anything that you would do just in a normal week. Keep things as straightforward and as simple as possible. Don't go out and try new foods or try. I raced in Shanghai in China, and the temptation was there. You're in China, and I had a big half Ironman race out there, and the temptation was you wanted to try new things. You wanted to try the food.
Of course,
eat the Chinese, and my partner was there with me, and she was obviously wanted to try all the new foods, and I had to be quite disciplined to not try anything that would affect your race and anything that you've done in the build-up, because you know what works for you. So don't go out and try anything new. Don't have a couple of pints of that. Or wine. Stick to your sleep pattern.
And I guess,
and you'd be fine.
I guess that sort of ties in with things like kit, for example. For me, obviously, running shoes. Don't go changing things 100%. Before you go out there, and I guess for yourself, more than that, you got your tri-suits and you've got your bike setups and all those sorts of things.
Definitely stick with your kit. You don't want to be trying new kit the week leading up to the race.
No.
And the other thing, you're doing it for fun. You're doing it to have a good time. The worst thing you can do is put too much pressure on yourself.
Amazing. Well, I think from my point of view, that's really, really helpful. And I'd like to say thank you very much for coming down today and seeing us and sharing your wisdom with us, and from myself and the team here at Ace, we wish you all the best now in your build up to Kona. I
just want to say all the best to you in Cardiff half, and also thank you to you and the team for your continued support to myself, which has been a massive help in allowing me to. The insoles have been fantastic, and they allow me to train day in, day out, week in, week out.
Brilliant.
Without any problems.
No, it's our pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for your support.
Our pleasure. Cheers, Dai.